Um, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of your Legal Fairy Godmother group. I'm recording this today, not for any reason other than I've got teenagers in the house and the Wi-Fi's rubbish. So our Facebook Live's just now out of the question, and I thought actually I'll just record it. It is going to be briefer than normal, but I thought I'd hop on because I have now finally. Well, what day are we? Thursday. I finally got round to having a proper look at the CMA pronunciation from Monday, and to sort of gather my thoughts really about what's there, and thought that I would just jump on to do this live, to do this video rather. In short, I think the commentary that I wrote when I posted the link is probably the sort of summary of the positives out of it. And I know it's easy, and it has caused a great deal of concern and worry about what this means and how it's going to be looked at by consumers. And for sure, it is going to be another tsunami of stuff from your customers going, but the CMA says, you're going to get that. But actually, when you step back and breathe and read it, it doesn't actually say anything different to the first missive, with the exception of the contracts which it describes as it considers to be frustrated, and I think that is the big contentious question. But let's just concentrate on the positives for a second, okay? So it very clearly underlines that the idea of a full refund is not your default position. So it very clearly talks about you being entitled to deduct from that refund, if it is requested, your the certain costs and certain elements which reflect the services or goods that the consumer has already received and which your business has incurred. Now again, lots of debate about whether the costs it says are recoverable and retainable by you are in fact retainable. I stress again, whatever my view about that is, whatever the views articulated by all sorts of people during the course of the last few weeks are, ultimately, until a court makes a decision that is binding on everybody, these are views. And what's happening with the CMA report is that's coming from a very particular stance. We all know this. But I think the message that I'd like to underline, rather than jumping up and down and challenging what's being said by the CMA, is I think the overwhelming message coming from that report is the same one that I've been trying to push for you all. Talk to your customer. Try and reach a compromise where both of you feel a little bit pissed off by the outcome. Now, I've said this before, it's very contentious for some people because they want to know what the law is, what's the position, I need to know what it is. And the short answer is, it's really hard to be specific about what the law is and what the answer is, because until that case is in front of a judge, nobody really knows. We're all guessing with some intellectual guessing, some experienced guessing, some informed guessing, but nonetheless guessing all the time. But so it's very difficult for people like me to give you a defined answer when you ask the question, can I do this, can I do the other? So I'm going to again say it. This is about communication with your customer. This is about compromise. This is about trying to reach a deal where both people share the pain. And I'd specifically ask you to have a look at the CMA report, because it talks about that in there's a whole section about compromises that a court might or might not reach, but that feels fair, because in a situation where a contract has been frustrated or cannot be delivered because the government locked it down in some way, shape or form, that's not the fault of the consumer, it's not the fault of the business owner, and therefore there should be some shared pain. That means you keep something, they keep something. I think it helps massively in that argument with people who just say, I want my whole money back. I think it helps massively in explaining that shared pain to a customer. There are plenty of things in there which are unhelpful. I'm not even going to attempt to justify them, and I don't think they're right. And in my view, I'm not sure what they set out about when a contract is frustrated is factually or legally accurate. That's just my view, and it definitely will be something that I'm sure in time will be argued in front of a judge. As I've said many times, I hope not with any of you lot, and I hope not with any of my contracts, because I really don't want that sort of notoriety, but it will happen. Sooner or later it will, and then we'll have a bit of clarity. In the meantime, my advice is breathe deeply. You can still use the email templates that I created back in, I think it was May, that many of you have purchased and used successfully with your customers. You can still use those. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in this report that changes what's in those templates. There's nothing in this report that makes that any different. There are many things in this report that can be added to that template, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that addition to the template. So if you want to extract parts out of the CMA report and add them to your templates or to your correspondence with your customers, then do so, because I'm telling you now, they'll be quoting it back at you, the bits that help them, and you need to quote the bits that help you back to them. So by way of summary, this week has been pretty tough, I know, for many people, because new stuff always generates worry and anxiety, and I know that there have been suppliers, because I've had calls from them saying, oh my god, I've had another tsunami of email from people who have now read this and said, now I want my money back. I genuinely do think that this missive from the CMA is actually helpful in many ways to the idea of no full refunds. I think it's flawed, undoubtedly. I personally do not necessarily agree with all of its assumptions, particularly around dates and when lockdown happens, and how you can assume to have known what was going to go on in September in May seems to me quite unreasonable, but that's my view. Okay, you may agree, you may not. I suppose it depends on whether you're a bride watching this or you're a supplier. I'm hoping it's a supplier because it's in my group. But please breathe, please be calmer. Try and use the bits of this letter that do help you. Sooner or later we will have a test case. Sooner or later someone will, I'm afraid, have to pay a lawyer. It won't be me, I'm afraid, but it will be paying someone to argue their corner, or they will be arguing their corner themselves. I know there's a number of people in the group have already said, bring it on, I'll go and stand in front of a judge and argue the toss about this. And I don't ever encourage people to get into full-blown litigation and end up in front of a judge and the lottery that is, will you win or won't you win, because it is a lottery. But sooner or later we will have some clarity. We do not have clarity at the moment. That is the worst place for all businesses to be. It is no fun, and it's very, very difficult to plan moving ahead, especially given what then happened on Tuesday with the what you might describe as the not in the direction of travel turn that we had on Tuesday morning with groups of people. Fortunately, the government did exclude weddings from that change, but that's still tough if you are not necessarily a wedding venue, but a venue providing, let's say, parties or other sorts of non-wedding based events. You've got some issues, haven't you? So I'm sorry that I'm not coming on to answer all the questions that I know will stem from this. If you put them into the feed, I will try and answer some of them. But I wanted to put something onto the site to say, because I said I would respond by the end of the week. I am responding by the end of the week. You'll appreciate it's pretty hectic here after my holiday, trying to get on top of the backlog, trying to get on top of what I need to do moving forward. I hope this is helpful. I hope it provides some reassurance. And as I say, if you've got some comments, you've got any questions, if you put them into the feed, I'll try and deal with them a little later. Okay. Keep on keeping on, guys. You're doing an amazing job in the face of no help or support, it feels like, I know, and no one shouting your corner. So there have been some real concerted efforts from some of the suppliers groups that I've seen online over the last few months. You know, Love My Dress doing a fantastic campaign, helped along by Nina Beer at Occasion Queens, and you know, there's some really great work doing there. And I know you feel like you're under the cosh, and here we are, you know, another week, and it's tough. But honestly, take the positives that there are in the CMA report. I think there's some very flawed reasoning in the CMA report. That's my view. It's my personal view. But, you know, we will only know when a court gets to make a decision about it. So have a good Friday, Thursday. I am going for a glass of wine because it's been a very long day. And as you can gather, look at the bags. I need a kip. And so I'm going to have a glass of wine, talk about things that are not wedding with some friends, and then tackle it all again in the morning. If you have any questions, pop them in the feed. I'll probably deal with them on Friday. Thanks then. Take care. Bye.